Happiness is freedom. Freedom is having the choice to spend your time doing things that inspire you. Most people want freedom, but many people don't have a clear objective, a roadmap, or a strategy to achieve it. Everyone deserves to live an inspired and free life. I believe that when we're free and able to focus on our most meaningful work, we simply become better human beings. We can give more, care more, support more, and love more. I'm an investor, a trader, and an entrepreneur, and I get to spend every day doing what I love. At the age of 29 years old, I became financially free, and since then my mission has been to help and inspire other people to achieve the same so that they can be more of who they really want to be. Always Free is about having a free mind, being free to question the status quo, free to take risks, free to say no, free to say yes, free from social idealisms, opinions and beliefs, free to disobey, and free to wake up every day and spend your time to make a difference that inspires you. You can have it all. Living a life designed by you isn't a stroke of luck or a result of circumstance. It's a choice. So if you want to learn how to become free and live an inspired life, join me for the #1 show for financial empowerment and wealth creation as I share my insights, tips, strategies, and advice on what allowed me to be always free. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jason Graystone. Well, welcome back to the show, guys. I hope you're having a nice week so far. This is the Always Free show, and if this is the first time you're listening, why? No, I'm just kidding. This is the #1 show for financial empowerment and wealth creation, and if it is the first time you're listening, make sure you go back to episode 1. Also, if you're not familiar with the podcast, highly recommend you go and check out the podcast. This show stemmed off of the Always Free podcast, which went to #1 in 3 categories on launch. It's been downloaded over 1.6 million times now in the last 2 and a bit years. So absolutely phenomenal. Let me know who's here. Ian's here. Bobby's here. Chris is here. Georgina's here. All the usual suspects. Hello. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a nice week. What I wanted to talk about this week really stemmed off of a topic that I was talking about earlier today. So we had a bit of a discussion today. How you doing? Good to have you here. SB, good to have you. Phil, how you doing? Neil Stores in the house. Cool. Finally catching a live. So this one's a bit different because a lot of you, I've recently been on TikTok. We've managed to get quite a good following on TikTok over the last few days or last week or so. And there's a real, there's a different audience there for sure, because the app was kind of primarily geared towards entertainment. And we've been dabbling with that app and managed to resonate with some people on there as well, right? Now, one of the things that I like to focus on is balance, right? So balancing all areas of your life, whether you're trying to achieve anything in wealth building or business or relationships or whatever it is you're trying to do in life, having a balance in all other areas of life is kind of linked to the relative success that you're going to get in any one area, because everything's linked, right? So the actual question that came out is, why is balance important in life in order to be successful? Because people will hear me talking about financial freedom and wealth creation and all the rest of it, but they also hear me talking about balance. And maybe it's because I'm a Libra. Maybe it's because I like balance in my life. I like calmness. I try to steer away from chaos, and I like to know the probable outcome of my life, and that's just the way I am. But it's worked for me, right? It's worked for me till today, and I think it's very important. Lots of you know that one of my mentors is Dr. John DeMartini. And he talks about the 7 areas of life, right? So the 7 areas of life, if you're wondering what they are, it's health, wealth, wisdom, business, relationships, social leadership, and spirituality. That's how he explains them. Health and fitness, wealth and finance, wisdom and knowledge, business and vocation, whether that's your job, relationships and family, social leadership and influence, and spirituality or your purpose, right? And that's really the 7 areas of life. And the thing is, they're all linked to each other. They all contribute towards each other. And I want to specifically give an example of financial success, because a lot of people are saying, well, why does it matter about that when it comes to financial success? And I want to talk a little bit about that because it is important. It is important. They're all linked. And what's going on at the moment, there's a lot of people online, and there's many people who are kind of teaching what they're specialized in, one particular area or niche or one particular subject, and they're probably really, really good at that particular subject, right? But there's very few people who kind of cover all bases and give people the knowledge that they need to have a balanced life, right? I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. There's very few people that don't try and polarize people, right? So that's what I want to talk about in today's session. Before I do that, let me know in the comments what you guys specialize in, for instance. So what is it that is kind of highest on your priorities? What is it highest on your value system? And as we go through this, I want you to think about how all of these things can be linked and how they can all contribute towards you getting more of what you want. All right, so what we'll do is we'll work on this list here, and we'll work top down, starting with health, okay? So how does health, how does that affect your financial world? Well, if you're sick, or if you're ill, or a big, you're really out of shape and you're lethargic and you're about to pop your clogs, you don't have a whole lot of time there to go and work on your money game, right? And build wealth. If you don't have oxygen and shelter and water and somewhere to sleep, you're not going to be in a very good position to go and to get your stuff together, right? And you're not going to go and do that. If you're sick and you're fat and you hate yourself and you've got pains everywhere and you've got very low energy levels, you're not going to have any energy to go and work on building wealth and on going and get your money, right? When you get home, you've got no energy. So, the link between health and wealth is a fairly obvious one, I would say. I just joined the gym to get my mindset right. Cool. So look, we can draw a little line on that one, right? And we can link health and wealth. What about the next one? What about wisdom? All right. And I'm not talking about kind of college, university, the kind of academic routes or anything like that. That's got very little to do with your financial success, as we all know. I'm talking about real wisdom and knowledge, and I define real wisdom and knowledge. The way that I was taught to define wisdom is the speed at which it takes you to realize that the good and the bad, the happy and the sad are all the same. They're an entangled event, right? And the universe is neutral. And the wisest people on the planet, they don't get swayed by emotional kind of oscillations much. And the less wise you are, the more kind of polarized in judgment that you are, and the more there's this is good and this is bad, right? The more black and white you are, that's going to keep you really infatuated with money, or you're going to hate money. Okay. And then the less wise people, they go and attach stories and emotions to certain things that are actually quite neutral in the universe, and they get very emotional and they oscillate. And we all know what Warren Buffett says about money. If you can't manage your own emotions, you can't manage money, right? Until you can learn to manage your own emotions, don't expect to manage money. And that's so true. You can't be crazy emotional if you're going to build wealth and become financially free. So you have to have your wisdom in order. You have to have knowledge in order. Make sense? What we got here? Cool. Next one. What's the next one? Business. Okay. What might that have to do with building wealth? Well, have you ever seen anyone attain any great amount of business income and success from not having a business. Maybe it exists, but there's not too many cases of that. It's quite rare. It's not the common thing, right? If you go through the billionaire list and the Forbes list and all of the kind of rich lists and all the rest of it, they're not people who are working for a boss, right? And I remember when I was an apprentice, okay, one of the other guys, he said, "Look, I think I've realized that we're not going to get rich working for someone else," and that's true, right? That's just, I thought everyone kind of knew that, but if you want to make big money and you want to become wealthy and you want to become financially free, one of the best things you can do is to go and start a business. All right, maybe you can do it as an employee, but I haven't seen too many people do that. Okay, so you want to stack the odds in your favor and you want to go and create a business, either that serves people where you got a positive income, or a business where you beat people and you're using a skill in a zero sum business. Make sense? Cool. So that's business, right? That's business. So there's a link between business and wealth, wisdom and wealth, health and wealth. Now, what about relationships? Okay, because you're going to need to deal with people, especially if you're doing a positive sum business, you're doing business that serves people. You've got to know how to serve people. You can't just talk. If you can't talk very well to people, if you can't write very well and you can't communicate very well, you're going to have a very hard time in business, right? You're going to struggle to sell anything, basically. You're going to have a really hard time making money, right? And obviously the other component of relationships is the family and your intimate relationships. If you don't have your stuff together with that, right, that is a very good way to lose half of your money real quick. All right. So if you bring a low self-worth into your relationship, right, including your family, you'll get pushed around. And a lot of people run guilt patterns with their mums and dads, right? And they want to give all their money away. Even I've seen teenagers message me before, and they've said, like, my mum and dad's racked up a debt, they haven't got their stuff together sorted in business. I feel sorry for them. My goal is to pay it off for them. They've failed this, that, and the other, and I feel guilty, and I want to give some of my money away. And, the only reason that parents ever make it to 50, 60, 70 years old and they haven't got their stuff sorted financially is because they've probably made poor investment decisions. They've spent their money in poor investments, right? So giving them more money is a stupid investment. So they can go and get more stupid investments with the money you give them, right? Because they've done that up until now. So, what are you going to do? You're going to give them more and then they're going to do more stupid investments, right? That's not the way to go. So what happens is then you're going to end up the same, and you're going to have to hope that your kids will be able to support you, right? And the whole thing continues, right? So half the game in your relationship and the empowerment of your relationship is self-worth, and you've got to bring self-worth to the table, right? You don't know what you're worth. You don't know, you don't really care for money. And it's as simple as that. You're out of fair exchange with your family. You put yourself down. You're not gonna get money that way. So relationships, okay, all links back to your financial success. So there's a pattern here, right? There's a pattern here. The next thing is social leadership. Social leadership. So then the next one down here is social leadership. So let's talk about that for a minute. If you want to have an average income, okay, and you're happy to go and have, if you're happy to go and have an average income, all right, you can go with the crowd and you can blend in and you can, blend into the crowd and you'll get away with it. And if you want to have that average income, that's what you'll get. If you want an extraordinary income, all right, and you want to control an unfair advantage of that income, then you're going to have to stand out in some way. And if you're going to stand out, you're going to have to be ready to stomach some criticism and some challenge and some haters and some naysayers, right? And they show up everywhere. Let me tell you, I've been on TikTok this week and they show up absolutely everywhere. Let me tell you that. And there's this kind of playoff between getting praise and being reprimanded. All right. Has anyone seen me do the table thing before with the praise and reprimand? But basically it works like this, right? If you're really, really liked and, you know, you're really praised, like, I don't know, Justin Bieber, right? You're seeing all the praise, but you're also going to have the reprimand. You're also going to have the haters at equal degree. Okay. And the difference between praise and reprimand is that we are biologically wired to love the praise. When we get praised and loved on, we get the dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin and endorphins run around our brain and it feels good. And when we get reprimanded, it doesn't feel so good, right? So what we do is we limit ourselves to the kind of degree or the exposure of reprimand that we can stomach. So if you can stomach reprimand from one person, you'll play a very small game, and you'll probably be a worker, very tight little closed in worker. If you can stomach praise and reprimand from 20 people, you could be a boss. If you could stomach praise and reprimand from 2,000 people, you could potentially be an entrepreneur. If you really gunning for it and you can handle millions of people, you could be a big CEO, right? An Elon Musk, or even hundreds of million, you could be a president, right? So you have to be able to stomach reprimand, and it has to be conserved by the praise. All right, it has to be neutral, and the level of what reprimand you can stomach is the level of what you'll play at, and it's all relative to income. All relative to income. If you go and check the people in the factory workers, and then the bosses, and then the business owners, and then the entrepreneurs and the CEOs, and then the big game players like Elon Musk, and then Richard Branson, and then all of the kind of presidency and all the rest of it, right? You're going to see a correlation in income. But if you get emotional and you don't have, if you don't have your wisdom and you don't have kind of the awareness yet that you think the reprimand is really, it's really painful, and you're chasing the praise, you'll never get there. Okay. So you have to have a vision that kind of transcends that, and that will get you over it. And then finally is the spirituality, right? And I'm not talking about, dogma and going to church and giving up 10% of your income and all that kind of stuff, right? I'm talking more about the force, that animates your physical body, right? You're a human being and you're watching this, and you've got a life force inside of you. And when you drop dead, right, you're dead. But the thing that existed in you that got you excited, that's what I'm talking about. The thing where you come alive, where you feel like a child, where you've got longings and callings, and you're called to do certain things. And if I ask your friends what you're known for, it will be very closely linked to that. That will be your purpose, right? It's unique to you. If you're not in touch with that, you'll have a very hard time. And I'm sure many of you experience when you're really on fire, right? And you put yourself in a particular situation or position, and your soul ignites. You get a rush of enthusiasm and energy, and the time flies, right? And maybe the hairs on your arms might stand up, and you know what I'm talking about, right? You're in the right place, right time, and whatever that might be, what you're doing, this is when you're being called from within to do whatever it is that thing is. Now, if you experience that and you don't develop enough courage to go and pursue that and dedicate your life to that, and and make money doing that, you're going to have a harder time making money. And I'm not saying you won't make a lot of money, because you can make a lot of money. But what usually happens is it's just more difficult. And usually at the end of that endeavor, you might go to a more traditional route, right? And that's more socially acceptable, and you go and do the accountancy or the doctor or the lawyer, or you go and get a normal job instead of that calling from within. what normally happens is after 20 years in that job, you then want to get out of it, and then you try to make a vocation or a business doing what you should have done in the first place. And, you know, I've seen that time and time again. But if you're not doing that, you won't put as much commitment in. You won't get up and think, man, I don't care how hard or tough the day is, I'm going to keep going for it. So it's much easier to generate wealth when you're pursuing something that you're meant to do. All right. So just to kind of round this off, what I'm really getting at here is, although I've linked why it's important to have balance in all areas of life to wealth building, all of these link together, and they're all important for each other. You need everyone helps every single one. So I asked you at the beginning of this show, what is your most highest value? What's your priority? I'd encourage you to go through them 7 areas and write down why each one will enhance or enhance the others. And I guarantee you'll find many, many reasons as why they're all important and why it's important to maintain balance in all of them. Otherwise, you'll be held back. You won't be living to your full potential. And that came out of a conversation today. So I was inspired to talk about it. So hopefully you got something from that. I want to say one thing. We are going to be doing a strategy session on wealth creation on Saturday morning. And also next Thursday and then the following Saturday. So there's 3 sessions coming up. If you want to book onto one of those, just scan this QR code here and you can join me on Saturday morning. There's still a few spaces left. And that just leaves the member of the month. So member of the month on the, competition time, not member of the month. Competition time. The way you win competition time is you're just here engaging in the chats. Take a little snapshot of this and post it on social media and tag me in it. And we'll be sending you some always free goodies. This week's winner is David Anderson. So David Anderson, if you reach out to admin@graystone.education, we'll be pinging you some always free goodies in the post. And just about wraps it up and leaves us enough time to say, whatever it is you do over this evening and the rest of the weekend, have a good one. And until next time, have a great rest of your day and weekend, and follow me on TikTok. See you then.